Mr. Araqchi, welcome to Vienna. On the issue of sanctions, are there still disagreements? And if you can tell us what sanctions are going to be removed when, is this when the IAEA verifies the implementation of a final deal?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Well, still all questions are under discussion, under negotiations. We have no agreement on almost everything. Actually, we have solutions on everything, but we have not a written agreement fully agreed with both parties yet. Sanctions is, of course, one of them, the most important of them for us. We continue to negotiate on each and every question, including sanctions. Sanctions and our negotiations today is actually based on the concepts and solutions we came to in Lausanne. And the solution on sanctions we achieved in Lausanne is that all economic and financial sanctions should be terminated in the day that we start to implement the final deal. And that is the solution.
The one phase lifting of sanctions is something agreed and drafted?
There is no phased sanctions termination on economic and financial sanctions. All economic and financial sanctions should be terminated at once when we start to implement the deal, the agreement.
Will this include the UN Security Council resolution on sanctions?
That include the UN Security Council.
And can you tell us what was achieved in New York? Because there were long hours of discussions there. What was achieved there? What stage are you in now in Vienna?
What we achieved in New York was the first draft of the whole package. Now we have a written text, although we still have lots of brackets, which represents the differences we have. What we are trying to do this time is to reduce the number of brackets and clean the text as much as possible. Of course, some parts of some of these brackets needs, in fact, political decisions. We try to achieve them. Maybe at some points we need the ministers to come back and make the final decisions on them. But we, as the deputy ministers, try to clean the text as much as possible, to reduce the brackets, and come to a single agreed text. And we think that we can do that even before the deadline.
And there's increased verification. Some have described it as unprecedented. Is Iran agreeing to the additional protocol, or does that depend still on the parliament?
Well, Iran agrees to implement additional protocol. And additional protocol is actually an international standard. More than 120 countries have already implemented that one. If implementing the provisions of additional protocol is something unprecedented, yes, this is unprecedented for Iran, but this is not something unprecedented in the world. As I said, more than 120 countries have already implement these provisions. So from that point of view, this is not something extraordinary. But since Iran has not implemented additional protocol till now, it would be unprecedented for Iran. But this is absolutely in the form of international standards.
As for the next 4 days, is there any particular matter that you want to discuss with your counterparts to fill those empty brackets?
Not anything particular, but everything. Everything is particular for us. Of course, sanctions issues are the most important one as far as we are concerned. There are issues that the other side has more concerns. We try to deal all of them.
Araqchi, just a final question. Has there been a confrontational approach from the other side, any of the other sides? Is Iran feeling that it may be under pressure in regards to certain aspects of a final deal?
Well, to some extent, it's natural that every party in any negotiations tries to pressurize the other side to achieve or to maximize its gains. But it's a fact that we have never submitted to these kind of approaches in the negotiations, and we continue to do so. There is no place for any pressure. we try to come to a reasonable, language on the solutions we achieved in Lausanne. And again, I repeat, we have to remain committed to those concepts and those solutions we came to in Lausanne. Actually, the ministers came to. And what we have to do here is just to codify and to detail those solutions, and we have to remain loyal to the concept.
Because you said there's some outside pressure or some factors outside of the talks that could influence. Can you elaborate what you meant about when you said that?
Well, there are many who try to sabotage these negotiations because they don't like any deal actually, and we have seen those elements inside the U.S. We have seen those in the region. We have seen those lobbies who try to actually destroy the possibilities for a deal, any deal actually. And we believe that this is the responsibility of both sides in the negotiations to prevent these interferences from outside the negotiations. But inside the room, we believe that we can do that, although it's very difficult, although the differences are still big in some issues. But we think that we can do that even sooner the deadline.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.